So, the Borealis Show here tonight at 7:30 from Lethbridge. This is Jaeson Rau, my second warrior from my series Warriors Among Us. And yeah, I had the pleasure to meet Matt yesterday, Jason's son, a very talented musician.
Very.
And yeah, it was wonderful to talk to him, but I have to correct myself today in public. So he's a very talented musician, and yesterday he told us that he's frustrated and upset at times with his friends because he asked for honest feedback, and they're either not interested or they don't really give him useful feedback. And I told him, you know what? I think life is trying to teach you to stand up for yourself and just keep doing what you're doing, and you do it even if you have no one cheering for you. And today I want to tell you, Matt, maybe you're watching this, I want to tell you this was not complete BS, but kind of. I think, and I know for myself, that we all need a wolf pack. We need at least one person who's cheering for us outside from our family. You have a wonderful father who's supporting you, but outside of your family you need at least one person. And I beg you, if you don't find that one person in your friendships, then go out there and find that person. You might have one German, very how do you say, serious critic who will always give you honest feedback. But yeah, find that one person or two or three, and then you go out there and rock it. So yeah, we all need that one person, and I think you can sign that too. I know you found at least one really serious supporter, your wife Jessica.
Yes.
She played a very important role in your life.
Very.
Yes, and yeah, to dive into our conversation now, I would like to start with, I have to confess, I introduced you as from womanizer and criminal to
although it's true.
To gentleman and loving father and loyal husband. Maybe a couple of your fans are watching tonight, and they will see a different side of yours, because I know your show is very, like, you talk very openly about your thoughts and how you see the world, and maybe today they might see another side of Jaeson. So, when you met me the first time, you said that you had a really rough time at some point in your life.
I did.
And do you remember how, like, when it all started, what, like, started the downward spiral? Was there one situation, or was it an accumulation of?
I think the biggest situation, or the biggest contributing factor, was having children. And you start to think about the example that you're portraying for the young men.
Yeah.
That, you know, and I think about the example that grown men are showing children today, and it crushes me. It breaks my heart. So that was a big part of what I call the conversation that I had. So when you talk about that rough time that I had, it bottomed out with a suicide attempt. And my father, who has left now, cancer took him from us. He was still alive, and he saved my life on a Thursday afternoon. And it was then I had a conversation with God. And during that time, during that conversation, I was given a choice. And I actually talk about that choice in my book. And I was told that you can go back to your ways. You can have the money and the cars and the trucks and the girls and the drugs and the drinking and the fun. Or you're going to get your ass handed to you, and you're going to go through pain and suffering like you've never known, because you have to fix what you did.
Mm-hmm.
You got to pay for what you've done. So anybody that thinks they do anything, any type of action, if you think that you perform any action that is not then paid for in some way, you're mistaken. We pay for everything, and I started paying on a Tuesday morning, and by the end of that week, I realized that I was just a human being, and I was insignificant, and there was something going on around me
Mm-hmm.
that was not explainable, because nobody had ever talked to me about it before. Nobody had ever explained to me that we're energy and we're connected to a source, and this stumble and fall and trip led me to realizing that in the Bible, where it talks about being of service, it means being of service, and it means being a role model. It means being a husband, being a father,
Mm-hmm.
and all of these things. You have to do them honestly, like your last guest was. You have to present yourself honestly and from a place of love, because we are love,
Mm-hmm.
but over the years men have been taught to become disconnected, because it's not manly. Even though we come from love, it's not manly to come. It doesn't make any sense.
I know, but what is it that taught us to be disconnected? What is it that, like, I know there's a lot of peer pressure that when you start as a guy to recklessly follow your heart, you can be sure that if you don't have like really good friends, you will lose them all, and even with your family, you will be looked at strangely,
Yeah.
like, is he going crazy? Why is it so hard? Why?
Well, it's like I write about in my new book. I believe to some capacity we've been swayed from or distracted from being a human being and living our full potential for profit.
Mm-hmm.
And we have become the butt end of someone's numbers on their spreadsheet. It's about power. It's about control.
Mm-hmm.
It's about fear. It's about the people that run our world not wanting us to know how amazing we are and the potential that
And
we
powerful.
all. We're very powerful. I was
Yeah.
having a conversation with a friend tonight, and he said, if everybody worked together, we could literally change this war and all of this hate. We could, within months, we could actually completely change the world
Mm-hmm.
within months. And I looked at him and I said, I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
We could.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you also, well, you're obviously not dating anymore, but
No.
You have 2 sons and you have friends who might be single. Do you observe these like changes in the dating scene, romance, tensions between guys and girls?
I do.
And what do you observe, and what do you think is the problem? Like, if you could tell the ladies out there, girls, we guys need this and that, and you keep doing this, and that doesn't make sense. Or, guys, we need to do this instead of that. What is it? Like, that you observe?
I don't know that I would answer that question and direct it towards women.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think that women are responsible for the actions of a man.
Okay.
I think that, and again, it's another topic that we wrote about in the book, but it's about being taken away from the true nature of being a human being,
Yes.
And it has nothing to do about what you require from somebody else, because you have to do it from within.
Mm-hmm.
We are energetic beings, and we are heart-centered beings that come from love, so it has to come from within.
Mm-hmm.
Not from someone else. Never from anyone else.
Yeah, but how, like, why do so many people think we have to portray this image and go with that, and then we get disappointed, we don't understand why it's not working out? Why did we come to that point?
We have been, for profit,
Mm-hmm.
we have been tricked into instant gratification.
Yeah.
And it's that simple.
Yeah, instant gratification, I can totally see that. And yeah, when it comes to Tinder and stuff, it really destroys the dynamic, the natural dynamic,
It
because
does.
you're judging.
It does,
And-
absolutely.
And then you, like, reality always looks different than something that you made up on a little screen. And
Yes.
yeah, it's tough times, but you can find your
You can.
Pearl. How did you guys meet? How? Because she was a game changer in your life, right?
She was a game changer. She was the game changer.
Yes.
Actually, she after my suicide attempt, where my father, got me through that. There was another trip and fall, and it was actually Jessica who kept me alive and kept me going, and she was really the one who, I guess if I was going to go out on a limb, I've never asked her this, I've never confirmed this, but I think she knew something that I did not. And I think she was able to love me when I wasn't able to even love myself. And so that reminded me of our true nature.
Yes, yeah, I can see that.
As soon as I was able to get back to the true nature of a man, even just on the path, not necessarily acting that way, but even just wanting, it changed everything, right? Because now you have support.
Yeah. I can see that when a guy is in a very vulnerable place, a place he doesn't feel like in his power,
Yeah, no.
he's not gonna allow a woman to comfort him or reassure him.
No.
He's gonna push it away
Yes.
because he has to do it on his
Yes.
own. And I mean, you had lots of experiences with women. You had a certain view on women. What was different with Jessica? Why did you allow her to support you? What was you trusted her,
Oh, absolutely.
and that made it work?
Trust and going inside and just going with what you feel. Not up here, what are you thinking? How does she look on her picture on the internet? Or
What kind of shoes is she wearing?
Not from here,
Yeah.
because here is thought, and here is ego, and here is instant gratification.
Yeah, yeah.
And for some reason, it changed to heart-centered compassion, love, honesty, right? It was the first, it was the second time in my life I was with someone who I was able to be honest with. The first time was I was quite young, and there was a series of horrible events that actually we came together and then we separated or went our separate ways. And in fact, it's probably her that even made it so that when Jessica came into my life, I recognized again, oh my goodness, this is
Real.
you don't get more than, usually something like this, you don't get more than one chance. I got a second chance, and away we went. So
Beautiful. So you're watching the Borealis Show, and today is about the warriors among us. It was Johnny Corthius, the first warrior I picked, and my second warrior, Jaeson Rau, who has also written several books. Here is The Truth Behind the Lies. And we will talk about this book next time you come in.
Yes.
Because I want to read it first.
Well, you're going to read this one.
I will read it, absolutely.
This one's yours.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
The books were supposed to come in
Did you
on
sign
Monday.
it?
I have not.
Oh, you have
The
to sign
books were supposed to come in on Monday. They
Mhm.
came today at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Great. That's
So
wonderful.
very unexpected.
Very good. Another question I have for you is, what was the hardest lesson you had to learn in life so far? Because we keep learning, but so far, what was the hardest lesson?
The hardest lesson.
Yeah.
Oh my. Wow. Honest. How to be honest. It is the hardest.
Oh, yeah.
It is the hardest thing for anyone to do nowadays, is to be honest.
Because we're scared of being rejected, or why?
We're scared of all of it. We're scared. I was raised by the people that I should have been able to look up to and trust. I was raised to not want to be honest. As a child, that's how I was raised.
Okay.
And I think that is very common in society now. You see parents, they spend more time on their phone than with their child at the park. There's that detachment. They're looking for something. They're looking to buy something. They need a bigger house. They need a fancier vehicle. They're in debt. They can't afford to eat, but they've based their life on a lie.
Yeah.
So, and this is society.
Mm-hmm.
This is our society. There's very few people driving nice vehicles around where they're not one payment away from bankruptcy or losing that vehicle.
Yeah.
It's all bought on credit.
Yeah.
And that being on credit then affects everything. It's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
And we don't have time tonight to get into that snowball effect.
Next
But
time.
it goes and it goes and it goes, and credit ruins everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It ties you down. It keeps you in that cage
It
where you don't see any
does.
possibility, and the kids just copy paste.
Except,
they have little.
except exponentially. Every generation it becomes, because what we accept today,
Mm-hmm.
the children are going to accept 5 times worse, and that's why the movies are so violent. That's why the sex is so
Present.
I mean, I'm a grown man, and I look at the commercials and I look at the movies, and I think, there's 12-year-old children watching this. What's that doing to them inside? How is this scarring? Because it's scarring our
Absolutely,
children.
yeah.
The sex and the violence and the greed, and the movies portray all this. The big gold chains and the rings and the fur coat and the Lamborghini and
the convos they have, like the way they talk.
the way
to each
they
other.
talk with no respect.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you wish for your son? Both of your sons. What do you want to pass on to them? What did you learn, or maybe you took over from your parents and you want to pass on, or just from your experience? What is most important for you?
The most important thing for me,
Mhm.
which I have been struggling and just clawing to try to make happen, is to change the paradigms that I learned from my parents and grandmother and aunt and
Mhm.
the friends that I hung out with, and to change that paradigm so that cheating and adultery and lying is not what's normal.
Mm-hmm. So
Right.
that's what you call paradigm? You want to...
So like a paradigm shift would be something that you've learned or done your whole life, and then all of a sudden you realize that it doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
This is called a paradigm shift. The paradigms are the things that we learn that are just unconscious.
And
we just do it because.
And for your kids, it is that lying, like being honest. That's what you want your kids to do.
That's what I want, is for my boys to be honest, and they're there. The hard work, is paying off, and it's showing slowly. It's coming. It's coming. One of them's in a great relationship with a girl that I just love to death. She's just such a good girl for my son.
Good.
And, she lives in the house with both of the boys, and she's kind of like a mother hen, and I'm so happy that she's there. And, so the oldest is doing his thing and on his way, and now Matt is... I wish you had met Matt 3 weeks ago, because in 3 weeks you see a shift in the way he dressed, the way he presented himself, the color of his eyes, how much he spoke. He's coming around exponentially.
Yesterday in 2 hours I could see a shift already.
And it's that's what's happening for him.
Yeah.
So I told him yesterday, I said, I don't see you that much, but a father and son don't have to see each other because we're connected energetically. And so even though I haven't seen my 2 boys, I think the work that I've been doing, the work that I've had to do for myself, and the work that I've had to do to complete this project, I think that energy has gone out to my boys.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think it's doing something for them. I hope so.
Yeah, no, I can sign that, absolutely. Like, if the parent takes good care of him or herself, it's 100% going to affect the child. And because you will always be someone we look up to, and in any way, one thing I wanted to touch on is what I observed is that, and it's a completely different topic now, it's about dating guys and girls again. Guys have a way of reacting in certain situations.
Sure.
And some girls don't know how to deal with it. So the shutting down and aggression.
Yes.
So when it would be with the girl, you would have like the hours of talk. I know you can kill a guy with a drama speech within seconds. It's like, girls out there, you don't even know how powerful you are. But the aggression is one thing that is so hard for girls to take in, because most of the time, like, aggression for me is just a second degree emotion. It's always fear or powerlessness that is at the root. So if the girl would learn to just cut through the BS and know the guy is scared, the guy feels like bad about something, and I just want to cater to that fear now, then it would be all perfect. But sometimes the aggression is so intimidating that you either react to it, or you find no other way than leaving.
I find that men are very aggressive nowadays because they don't know how to communicate properly.
So does that start from childhood on, that the guy,
it does,
the boy?
Yeah, it starts from childhood. And so, when I grew up, it was something different than now. Now it's video games and movies and a complete, disconnect. When I was growing up, it was real men don't cry, real men don't have emotions, real men don't talk. Stop crying or I'll come down there and give you something to cry about. And that usually involved a leather belt or whatever. So it was almost trained into us that we didn't have emotion, that we didn't communicate, that we didn't. And it wasn't until I was 40 years old
that you were aware of it?
A massive breakdown. I cried. I cried, and I
in front
cried
of a woman.
in front of Jessica.
In front of
Absolutely, for the first time in my life, or maybe once or twice, but I had held it all in for so long, and it was a Father's Day, and it was I think it was the third Father's Day in a row that I didn't even hear from my children. Their mom had told them this, that, and the other thing, and had played them against me, and my youngest now is saying, like, why didn't I call you? Like, what happened that I didn't want to talk to you? Well, you were taught. He was taught to not. And it's back to that communication again, but it's not just men. And women are also scared to communicate. So now it's amplified because, like you said, women react or get scared.
Yeah.
A woman doesn't realize that a man's aggression during conversation is not usually aggression, it's
frustration,
fear, frustration. What do I say? How do I express how I feel? I don't know how. How do I tell you this?
Right.
I don't know.
And what about you in your relationship now? Like, you learned it this time with Jessica together?
I did learn, and I tell her how I feel, and I'm not ever scared to tell her how I feel about anything.
Because you trust her.
I trust her, but I also trust myself. I trust myself to be honest. Right? That's part of it. You have to know that you're being honest.
And you have to value your feelings, right? If you feel scared, then
you have
that's
to accept
so valid.
it.
Yeah.
And in this society, this day and age that we live in, there's no acceptance.
No.
You have to put your personal spin on it. You can't just accept it for the way it is. It's just simple. Just let it be what it is. Instead, we have to blah blah. It's my opinion and my feelings. We've turned our opinions and feelings into the truth.
That's why yesterday, like when I drove back home, I was like, my God, it was actually telling Matt, harden up, like deal with people not giving you feedback and blah blah blah. And then I said, no, I understand how he feels, and that's what I should have told him, but I felt like, I have to give him advice, I have to make him feel better. Instead, I could have just sit back and say, I can relate. I feel the exact same with my show here. I don't know who's watching me. I don't know if people enjoy it or not, but I have like a couple really good wolves behind me who keep saying, like, go out there and do it. And so I did the mistake, and I hope he
One thing from that conversation, though, is that young boys in our society now are scared and unable to have that confidence because we are living in a fatherless society. And a mother and a father are both so important to a child. A woman brings something to the table that a man can't, and a man brings something to the table that a woman can't. And now you have women proud that they've forced the father out of the child's life. They say things like, we can just go and find you another daddy. Well, you can't find another daddy.
No, there's just one.
I have I do go on Facebook once in a while, not very often, but a few years back I saw, starting on a Father's Day, Happy Father's Day to all the single moms out there doing it on their own. And I thought to myself, and I don't mean to think things like this, but my thought immediately was to all the single moms who have forced their children's father out of their lives, because nowadays you don't actually, there's a percentage for sure, but the men that walk away from their children is the numbers are so small. But when you sit down with these men and you actually talk to them, mom has created some delusional story that doesn't even make sense, and she has forced dad out of. Now these children are growing up with only a female, and so they're missing the yin and the yang. They're only getting the one. They're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
getting a balance. They're
Yeah.
just getting one, and this is destroying our society.
Absolutely.
These mothers that force the children out of
Mm-hmm.
dad's life, they don't realize what they're doing to all of society.
Yeah, I'm very blessed. Like, my mom always kept us together even after divorce,
Yeah.
and so did my dad. But this is like what I'm doing today with this show about warriors is actually what drove me, because when kids watch all these movies
Yes.
and listen to the news, it's all these aggressive
Yes,
bullies
it's all.
and role models.
Yep.
And I wanna, like, if I have the power with media, I wanna show the kids and the ladies out there, there's such good guys out there who would die for you.
Yeah, we have forgotten that the violence and the aggression actually weakens us.
Oh yeah,
Weakens us.
it just looks so intimidating,
Yeah.
but it's again just fear and like this superiority
Yes.
complex.
It's an imaginary.
Yeah.
It's an imaginary. It's a delusion of power and control, and
Mhm.
and when you come to that place where you realize that you can't actually have control or power over anyone,
Yeah.
it changes everything, right? And you're so powerful after that to make changes in your life, to help
Yeah.
other people make changes in
Yeah.
their lives, because you're doing it without judgment. You're doing it from a place of love and compassion,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes. I'm so happy you took the time and came to my show today. And I would love you to come back, because I want to talk about this book, and you also wrote a book about divorce.
I did.
So we will meet again soon.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're in overtime already.
It's okay.
Yeah, so thank you so much for coming. And yeah, that was the Borealis Show with my two warriors today. And I wish you all a good night, wonderful weekend, and you're doing great out there. Keep being authentic and yourself. Bye-bye.